Hello, everyone, and welcome to On the Couch with Nomzamo. Suze Orman, an American financial advisor and author who was once a resident financial guru on Oprah's show, once said in one of Oprah's shows where she was a guest, how we respect our possessions says a lot about how we respect ourselves. She continued to say, if we don't respect what money can buy, then we don't respect money. If we don't respect our financial obligations, such as paying our bills on time, buying only what we need and what we have budgeted for, and not thinking beyond the today, then you don't respect money. And not respecting money itself is a sign that you are not respecting yourself. That's a mouthful, but it's okay. We'll get into that as we go ahead with this interview. On the other side, one of my favorite authors, Louise Hay, an American motivational author and a founder of the Hay House, Yena says, it is essential that we stop worrying about money and stop resenting our bills. Many people treat bills as punishments to be avoided if possible. A bill is an acknowledgement of our ability to pay. Creditors assume that we are affluent enough to give us the service or the product first. And if we pay with love and joy, we open the free-flowing channels of abundance. If we treat the money we have as our friend, not as something we wad up and crush into our pockets, then we might be just on the right track. Today on the couch with Nomzamo, we have Phelisa Siboyana, a young, dynamic, and ambitious woman. She's a private wealth banker, a businesswoman, inspirational public speaker, mentor, and philanthropist. She's very involved in the development of young women through her nonprofit organization called Her Majesty. She's also an aspiring purpose and financial coach with a mission to help people realize and pursue their purpose while achieving their financial freedom. Welcome to On the Couch with Nomzamo, Phelisa. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know you're very hectic. We've been trying to meet up, but life happened. And finally today, it has happened. Here we'll be talking today about taking responsibility for your finances, the importance of saving and investing, a little bit on home ownership, family and estate planning, and lastly, we'll also touch on retirement. I'd like to welcome Phelisa. Phelisa, welcome to On the Couch, and I appreciate having you here.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be here today.
Yay, finally with the women out there, the young girls who are set on getting their finances right and avoid making the kind of mistakes the like of us did at some point.
Yeah, 100%.
Now tell us, Phelisa, what is the importance of one getting their finances in order?
Okay. First and foremost, you need to understand that money loves order. Where there is order, money flows. Money is a currency, right? That's why you've got ZAR, USD, AUD, the currency, meaning that they flow. And they flow where there is order. Where there are blockages because of limitations, debt, or whatever, there's no flow. So when you put your finances in order, you allow the flow of money to come into your life. It's important to have your finances in order because, like the Bible says, money answereth all. You know, you need money to live. Yes, you can have a very good life, you can have a great life without money, but in order for you to be comfortable, to afford stuff, to purchase stuff, the buying power right now is currency, it's money. It's no longer like in the times where there was barter systems or things like that. Now you actually need money. So it's 100% important for you to understand your finances, to get them in order for you to add on to them, and also to be able to be a channel of blessing to other people.
Oh, wow. So it's just bigger than going to an ATM and withdrawing and getting inside the bank and depositing. It's bigger than that. 100%. What do you say about Suze Orman's statement about respecting money being a sign of how much you respect yourself?
100%. I think it is because if you're a good steward of whatever you've been given, you allow more to be added onto you. So I'm a very big believer in faith. And I think a lot of the principles that I speak on or I teach people on are very much linked onto biblical principles. And I believe that if you're trusted and faithful with a little, then you will be added and entrusted with more. You understand? When you respect the 1 rand that you have, that will give produce to 1,000, 100,000, and so forth. So when you are unable to manage 1,000, God is not going to entrust you with more, because God is a responsible father. He's not a father that awards. When you see children throwing tantrums in shops, God is the kind of father who will just walk away, because he's not going to reward unfaithfulness or reward recklessness by giving you more. That will lead you into more debt. You understand? So everything's about lessons. It's about learning the lessons that you need to learn. It's about respecting what you've been given, to grow it first and most importantly, and also to be a good steward of it.
And then on the other side, there comes Louise Hay saying that we need to welcome bills with gratitude and not resent them, because they're a sign of us being entrusted with debt, for lack of a better word. But do you find a contrary, or they're saying the same thing with Suze Omen, but in different ways?
Yes, 100%.
Because people do run away from debts that they have created.
That they've created. And I like what you said, that they've created. I think that's the thing about bills that we want to run away from. We've created them. A lot of the times, never mind things like maybe a house or water, electricity, those are sort of like mandatory bills that you have, right? But even there, some people still run away from them. And you find that the reason why they run away, it's maybe not because they can't afford it. Because if you couldn't afford it initially, you are not going to be given mismanagement, right? It's mismanagement. So instead of paying for the electricity bill, because they're going to switch it off, you rather spend money on new clothes, new shoes, and so that's mismanagement of funds. So what Louise is saying is, welcome the bills that you have taken on. So you need to start first by, let's go back to Susie, by saying, respect yourself to take on the right kind of debt. Not taking on everything, and then when it comes to bills, you're stressed, you're going through the most, but it's stuff that you created for yourself. And even when you are in that position, right, where you've got now a list of bills to pay, take your time to understand what you can kill first. The financial freedom is not about not having bills at all. No, it's not, because that's a very perfect life, and we all know that life is not perfect. Financial freedom means having the ability and the clarity to know what you're responsible for, managing it, and making sure that it's paid on time.
Yeah, Phelisa, can you just bring this topic to the current situation where we live in the times of COVID? I say financially, a lot of us were caught with their pens down. What have you realized in your space of being a private wealth banker?
No, it's very sad actually. Like, I think if there's one word that I can use to summarize what COVID has shown us in the financial sector as it relates to our clients, as it relates to their businesses, as it relates to their finances, it's very sad. Firstly, because nobody predicted that we would have a pandemic, not only on a health perspective, but on a financial and economic basis.
There are no warnings.
No warning signs. No, it's coming gradually. It was just boom, national lockdown, and everything had to come to a halt. So absolutely, a lot of people, we were not prepared for it. And it's not because the tools to be prepared were not there all along. They were always there. But people were just like, it's not going to happen. We need to save for emergencies. You've always been hearing
We've always been told.
Emergency savings.
Yes.
But nobody has that. You speak about emergency savings and talk about it being 3 times your salary, but nobody keeps that because nothing's going to happen. So COVID happened, and a lot of us actually saw how detrimental it is to not plan for an unknown future. Very dangerous.
What would you say are the top 3 financial mistakes that you saw people making or made that have made it so difficult for them to recover during this time?
Yes. I think the first and most important mistake that we make, especially the generation that we are, is lifestyle debt. And when I say lifestyle debt is things like credit cards, expensive cell phone contracts, gym memberships, things that you do that you don't have to do, that you can live without. You understand?
The wants and not
the wants, yes. That's a very big portion of when I consult with people, the first thing I look at is their lifestyle debt, because that will tell you a lot about the person. Because you'll find a person that's paying, they don't mind paying 5,000 rand on a credit card every month. just because it's a revolving debt, right? But they've got nothing on savings. It means this person's lifestyle is a more consumption lifestyle more than it is a saving lifestyle. So a lot of lifestyle debt was the very big problem. Number two, the lack of savings, like we've just touched on now.
Yes.
People see savings as something, or that's sort of like a punishment, or sort of like I don't have to do that. I've got enough money. It's not about having enough money right now. It's about what can happen in an event of an eventuality where you need money and you don't have it. So savings. And the third thing is, the big assets that we take on that we maybe don't afford. And I want to talk about things about assets that we don't already afford and how we as people trap ourselves. If I see a nice house for 2 million rand, but my salary realistically, I can only afford 1.5 million, but I'm going to skew the application in a way that
it gets you to that.
And I think, viewers, let's be honest, we've all done that at some point. I know I have. Where I want something so bad that I'm even willing to skew the application and say, instead of groceries, I pay 300 rand for groceries. God knows nobody pays that.
It catches up with you.
It catches up with you because you took on a big expense that you actually can't afford, realistically speaking. Putting your life into context, you know what I'm saying? So cars, and that's the big things like cars, houses. And now you're stuck with this because you can't get rid of it, but you actually, it's draining your cash flow more than anything. So those are the three things that I found, to be a very big problems with people, with clients, with businesses. It's the same with everyone. Yeah. Lifestyle debt, no savings, big money items that are draining their investments in their savings.
Like me, I used to think that having your car repossessed is very easy.
Yes.
Until I realized that when they repossess your car, it's not a done deal. You still have to pay.
Yes.
And I'm like, So, there are no shortcuts.
There are no shortcuts. Literally, you need to know what you're getting yourself into. When you're buying a car, it's 60 months commitment. When you're buying a house, it's 20-year commitment. You need to know what you're getting yourself into, and most importantly, be able to sustain those things, no matter what happens or what changes or what shifts in your life.
I've had a lot of people actually saying that I would ask, but then have you notified your bank about your situation or your change of financial lifestyle? And people don't. They're not forthcoming to the financial institutions to say, hey, I'm in this situation now. I need help.
Yes.
And I'm a pensa wasiza ngoma now. They won't do like this. They won't know. So what is the importance of being forthcoming with your financial situation to your financial institution, and so that you can get the help that you need?
Yes, and that's a very important question, and I think that also ties a lot with the theme of the channel. On the Couch with Nomzamo, it's about authenticity. It's about realness.
Yes.
And the first person you need to be real with is yourself. And if you can't be authentic and real with yourself to say, like, you know what, I'm in trouble. I actually can't afford all the things that I have. There's no way you're going to go to the bank if you can't do that for yourself.
Yeah.
You understand?
True.
So I think a lot of us struggle with maybe the stigma of saying, or whatever. And that those things are irrelevant in the greater scheme of things. You know what I'm saying? So first and foremost, people need to be aware of where they are, honestly with themselves. Never mind what your friends or whoever thinks or what they know about you, but be honest with yourself and then go to the banks. Understand that banks are there. Yes, obviously, the banks are there to facilitate your financial transactions, but they're also there to help you, to assist you. We are regulated by the National Credit Act that is built around the consumer. It's built around helping clients, helping consumers to make sure that they're not over-indebted, to make sure that in that case where they do lose their jobs, like what are the remedies that are there? Everything is in the bank. But people are afraid maybe to look like they failed or they have not worked hard enough. But that's not the point. When you are in trouble, seek help. Like, get help as soon as possible. Be real with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Go to somebody with your pay slips or with whatever documents you have and show them. And trust me, you will get a way out. You will find a solution other than just sitting at home and being like, okay, well, I don't know.
And hope you can sweep it under the carpet and it will go away.
You're going to accumulate interest. You might get into a place where your assets are being repossessed, where you're way in over on interest charges because of something that could have been prevented. upfront if you had communicated, spoken to someone at the bank. And it's not just about like, some people say, well, I don't want to go to a bank and tell I'm thinking as I'm. It's not about that. It's about going to a trusted financial services provider, whether it's your bank, whether it's financial advisor, or whoever that you need, whether it's debt counseling, whether it's, going through the process of debt protection and those type of things. Speak to somebody who can help you to get out of where you are.
Actually, the financial institutions, I believe they know more about our problems than we sometimes do. Because sometimes I can call the bank, I'm like, whoa,
no, it's all there. You can already see it, but we have to wait for you to come forth. You'll be lucky in instances where the bank calls you and says, "We can see that there's this and this happening. How can we help you?" That's when you are in like private banking and so forth. But for the normal everyday South African, you need to be upfront. You need to be proactive about your finances.
Hey guys, I caught this one part. Good statement to Phelisa just made. Good financial institutions are there to help us.
Yes.
How financial institutions are there to help us. So it says everything is built around the consumer. I mean, sometimes I feel like financial institutions are there to just entice me with these credit cards, with these revolving credits, all this, everything that they offer me. And then they are the first to threaten me with your credit score, this. And she says they are there to help us. On the couch to just discuss that subject.
No problem. Because that subject is connected to money management. And because actually when we entice you with the credit card, you qualify. And when you log into your app, you qualify for 200,000. That 200,000, we're not expecting you to blow it on sweets. We're expecting you to make proper, educated, decisions with it. Whether it's renovating your house, doing something that add value to you. But on that point, we need financial education. And that's where I agree with you to say the banks, I don't think we do enough to educate clients on, safe ways to use credit. Credit is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, because the bank will just refer you. No, it's there on our website. It's there.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's not enough.
That's not enough.
I agree with you on that. Credit is a beautiful thing when you know how to use it. A lot of people hate credit. There's two kinds of people. They be like, hey, it's for credit. Then there's those who overlove it and they abuse it. So you need to find a perfect medium, and there is a balance to using debt. And the next time when we talk about it, I'll tell you about different people. I'll give you scenarios of people who use debt to accumulate assets. They buy cars, but in such a smart way that you buy the car cash, but you have a bigger facility that's facilitating this. There's ways to use credit in a very smart way. Our consumers don't have enough education about that. I'll agree.
Another one. Now a car is an asset. I knew that a car is not an asset. Maybe a house, but we are going Phelisa. I can promise you that because she needs to come and finish what she just started.
No,
Phelisa, tell us about the difference between financing and servicing debt.
Okay.
And that's a statement.
Okay. So the statement that I made was there's a difference between being wealthy and servicing debt, right? When an asset is anything that is producing an income for you, number one, or it's something that that holds value that you're no longer paying towards.
Like what? We always paying. Our parents are forever paying.
For example, if you've got a house like this beautiful house that you have, once you've paid the house off completely, it's now an asset to you. Because you're not leaving anything out, right? You're keeping it. Or if you decided to use this house for rental income, it's an asset.
Yeah.
That's what an asset is. But in the interim, when you are still servicing and when I say servicing debt, I'm talking about paying the installment with the interest on a monthly basis. That is servicing debt. Okay. That's not wealth. So a lot of people think I'm wealthy. No, until the bank has no ownership to that thing. The moment the bank still on the title deed has ownership on the vehicle, is still the title holder. A bank, when we have until you are done with it, then you can say you've got net investable assets. There's something called net worth. And your net worth is calculated once you've taken your assets, you've taken your liabilities, Okusalayo, that's what we say your net worth is. And when you're talking about accumulating wealth, we're talking about increasing this bottom line, right? So a lot of people are stuck in the position where they are accumulating assets, right? But they are paying so much for them that you end up draining your cash flow. And then you see at the end of the day, you're just servicing debt. That's what you're doing. And for us as individuals, we are part of a state that is exactly like that. Our country is in a cycle of debt. Our economic structure is in a cycle of debt where we only service a portion of the interest that we owe to the World Bank, to
and say it again.
And it's only becoming worse. So we have inherited that culture of servicing debt, making it a lifestyle and thinking we're wealthy when we're not. So what we need to educate people is focus on paying your debt, paying it up as soon as you can, so that you can have that as an asset. You hold it for generational wealth to be created. When talking about generational wealth, we're talking about the ability to give your children paid off assets. Not to when you die, your life cover will cover the house, then the kids will get the house. Yes, that is a way of creating generational wealth, but that is not where we should be aiming to or working towards. We should be able to get financial freedom in our lifetime, not only when we passed away and hope our kids will learn what we didn't learn.
Hey, and that, the generational cycle is very big. And now we're dealing with programs. I blew it. Like, why are you fighting for your parents' house? EPA,
what are you doing?
I blew it. How do you blow your 2 million rands and you don't even have a bed to point to? Now I'm betting out and that's the TV. At least I inherited this house from my parents. At least get my aluminium windows or my pasta or your paper. No, there's nothing. I blew it all to the last cent.
Yeah, it's sad. I watch that show, Elsa. I love that show.
Yeah, but I watch it and my husband was like, why are you torturing yourself watching it? Like, I don't understand.
I also don't understand. Like, I don't understand how today. I can understand maybe like, like 10, 20 years ago, you can do that. Now, in 2021, you're still blowing 1 million, 2 million like that. I don't understand.
And you have nothing to show for it.
Alcohol, bride. Always talking about brides.
And then they choose the best candidates who don't even show remorse. Would you know? My husband was saying the other time, no mangaphinda win the same thing because it doesn't come across as having someone who has learned from the mistakes of the past.
Yeah, and that show for me is a representation of a bigger picture, right? So they're blowing big amounts of you just like it's been about 2 million, but if you actually sit down with yourself, if you do a notification that there's 2 million in your account right now. What's the first thing you would do? I bet you 90% someone. The
black in me is going to kick out. The black in me is going to kick in.
You see.
Maldives in your policy card. With a pen and paper, getting bad.
Yeah. But you see, so our first response is to spend. I mean, I would also spend. The first thing.
Yeah, but I ain't for me. Yes,
and if you don't have education yet, you'll know to manage.
Yes.
Manage, then the money's died. You've blown it.
Which brings us to the point. Credit score. What is the credit score and why is it so important?
Okay. So a credit score, how I like to make it simple and understandable to people. I think we all have social media. We all have Facebook accounts, Instagram accounts, Twitter accounts, whatever. And your profile picture is sort of your introduction to the world to say, this is how I look, this is how I am on the outside, right? And whatever you post there also tells people about your interest, who you are. Yes, what I mean? So your credit score is exactly that to financial services. It's telling us who you are, how you spend your money, and what is your past relationship with money. So every time you go to a financial services provider, whether it's MTN, you're looking for a contract, whether it's BMW, you're looking for a car, whichever service provider you're going to, what we're trying to determine is who are you in relation to money? What's your relationship with money? So abantu who have good credit scores are people that are predominantly people who pay their debt on time. people who honor their commitments to pay the debt. So if when they an agreement you sign for 500 every month, you pay 500 every month. If you pay 400 and in your head you're like, no, madam, you didn't pay the amount. Yes, so there's accumulating arrears that affects your credit score, right? If you are always applying for new debt, that also affects your score because it says you're a high risk person. You're always looking for the next thing, right? So there are a number of factors that affect a credit score, but the most important thing that you need to realize with a credit score is that it is your representation to anyone who you want to get debt from. And so sometimes we look at it as like it's not important if my score, I mean, that's very irresponsible. As somebody who gets a salary, who is entrusted with debt, whether it's a house, a car, a phone, whatever contract that you have, it's irresponsible for you not to know your score, not to know what's happening on your credit record. There are channels like Clear Score where you can actually get this for free. The TransUnion, you can get it for free. It's them trying to educate consumers to be aware of what's happening with their finances.
And one has no excuse because you can download the app. Download the app, and every month they will rate you, Uguti, where are you standing in terms of your credit score. And they will say if you are below this, watch out. If you're above this score, you're doing great.
100%.
But then there are people who don't have credit and they find it difficult to get approved when they apply.
100%. So like I said,
so even being clean works against you.
100%. Because why? Because we are looking to see we 700 in mind. So if you clean, you've never had debt, then you can't see 700. So when you get 2,000, you're gonna blow it, I blew it, and then you're never gonna pay it back. You understand? So what we're trying to see is that every single month for 24 months, that's a long time. That's 2 years. How have you been conducting your finances? So if you're somebody who's very conservative and you're risk averse and you don't like to take debt, take a small account, even an account of 500 rand, open the 500 rand facility with the clothing account store and just keep paying. It'll probably be like 50 rand a month. Make sure that you put a debit order. That's something I always advise my clients, that don't leave it to chance to say, no, I'll pay cash.
I'll remember.
Life happens. It falls on a weekend. You are busy. There's so much that can happen. Put yourself in the right position. Have a debit order in place for that 50 rand and make sure that that's going to maintain a good record for you. Then whatever you're trying to apply for in the future, because creditors can see that you're faithful, they will give you more. It goes back to my saying when you started to say, when you are faithful with a little, you can be trusted with more. But if your credit score, you've got missed payments, this month you pay, that month you don't pay, you're reversing debit orders, everything is shown on your credit score and on your credit record. And that's going to make it difficult for you should you want to get money.
And guys, the banks have given us these banking apps. When I schedule, I don't have many debit orders, but for those small accounts, I schedule payments. I schedule payments long term so that ngikhohlwa na yiyo but ngiyazi ukuthi abantu ekumele babhadaliwe bayabhadala.
So that's another way to do it, either with a debit order or with a scheduled payment. But don't leave it to yourself. I think to be responsible and to make sure that it is done, just make sure you put it in place. It is amazing.
Okay. I've heard people saying there's good debt, there's bad debt, there's good investment, there's bad investment. How can debt be good and how can an investment be bad?
Okay, so
what types
of debts? So good debt and bad debt is basically going back to needed versus want, right? It's drilling it down to need versus want. You need a house. You don't need a 5 million rand house on a 500,000 salary. You understand? So you need a car. You don't need a G-Wagon. You need a car. So good debt and bad debt is basically rolling it down to say, okay, what are your needs? You need shelter, you need transportation. Okay, you might need a credit card that you can manage. Not a facility. And banks, be careful of this, guys. Banks will give you a facility that may be higher than what you can actually afford, but that doesn't mean take it out. It doesn't mean if the bank says you've qualified for 200,000, your friend says I own now. You can take 20,000. You can take 100,000. You know what I mean?
Until you fail to pay back.
That's what So good debt is basically knowing what your needs and your wants are and working on your needs without taking wants. Because bad debt is like taking on a credit card is not bad, a credit card. But there are clients with 5 credit cards. With every bank, they've got a credit card. Now that is an example of taking on bad debt.
They're using it to take from John to pay
Peter. Yes, that's one example of it. Secondly, it's lifestyle, living the posh, nice life, imali ngapheli, but in reality, imali iyaphela, and you need to have, you need to balance out your life. So other people love the finer things in life, especially in Joburg, and then they service that finer things in life with credit cards. But the problem is you serviced it, you serviced it with money that you did not have. So now this money that you did not have, where will you get the other money to pay for this one? Then you need another credit card. So that's how it ends up happening where you
kule pressure engaka yaseJoburg.
Yayibona.
Ngaze kuthiwa khona nabo right address. You need to stay in a suburb called the right address, drive the right car, go to the right restaurant, and pay with the right card.
Yes. If it's not black, it's not. I feel. And then, sorry, to get back to our question about the good investments, bad investments. Good investments are things that are going to grow and make you money, right? And so when you're talking about good investments, you're talking about, first of all, it must be a trusted provider that's giving you that service. And right now we're living in the age of triple M, all sorts of schemes and stuff going on. And as much as that's nice in the short term, especially when you get money quickly, but when you get caught, when you get burnt, then it's not funny anymore. Then it's not funny. I know people that have lost hundreds of thousands in triple M. I know people who have lost money in cryptocurrencies and stuff like that. And I'm not saying all cryptocurrencies are bad. I mean, there are some that are registered with the FSA and, they're being run legally. But there are many shortcuts. Research, Forex. There's ways to make money in Forex. There's ways to lose money in Forex. So you need to know which investment to get into. What do you understand? Don't get into it because somebody sent you a message on Facebook and you think you're going to make a lot of money overnight.
Hey, I stay in the UK. I'm from Debit. I stay in the UK. Like,
those people are sitting somewhere in a shack, in a laptop, waiting to scam people. Don't fall for it.
Okay. We've spoken debt, we've spoken investments, we've spoken savings. Let's put them on my contracts. On a wheel, getting into the right contracts, Maushata, in 2021. Can we just get educated?
Yes.
I used to say to my husband, we need to talk about these things because now if you are into business, when you go down, we go down so again. How am I gonna be up and pull you back? If so those things, and it's things that we, as Black people, we're still not educated in talking about wills. Obviously, we still don't do that, and we don't talk about our marriage contracts, the pros and cons. And I know that's very broad, so maybe let's drop the marriage contract thing because it's a subject on its own. Let's talk wills, the importance of having a will.
Okay. So a will also is a contract that you get into in your lifetime that speaks to others. So there's two types of will. There's a living will and there's a will that comes into effect at the point where you die.
Living will?
Yes. A living will says, like in your latter years when you've passed the age of working, this is what you want to happen with your assets. There's that saying, if you become sick to a point where you cannot speak for yourself, you're in hospital, but I'm alive. As long as you're still alive, there's a will that can speak on your behalf if you don't trust. Or maybe not even say trust, but if you don't want to be in control of what happens to your assets, that's what a living will does and will do. But then there's a will that is more popular, which comes into effect when you pass away, right? A testamentary will. And that one is to say, this is what I want to happen with my assets at the point of my departure. A lot of Black people, most especially, or people of color, don't really take this into consideration because as this family, auntie, they'll take care of the kids. But remember, we're not all in the same financial position. We're not all in the same understanding of how things are done or how you want your things to be done. So a will informs what they should do with your assets, with your children, with your houses, your cars, and everything like that. It is 100% important to have it, because if you do not have a will, right, some of your policies, if it's not clearly noted who the beneficiaries are, it's paid into a state account, right?
Yeah.
And even your children, if your children who are minors, you need to have a will. It's not an option. It's not a maybe. You need to have a will if you have children that are minors, because there are families involved. There's the husband's family, there's mother's family, and I don't have to get involved in the drama that can happen when somebody passes away, right? You want to make sure that the families all know and understand what's going to happen with your money for your children. Because if you don't put those safeguards in place, you'll put your children under a very compromised position. You understand? They are minors, even if they are majors. A will says that you can create a trust that even when they turn 16, 18, they don't get the full lump sums, but they get it in stages where they're 25, they can get everything because they are more mentally mature for it. That's how kids end up on upload doing drugs, because they received a big inheritance that they were not ready for. You understand? So having a will is absolutely important. A lot of financial institutions provide wills for free for clients. So speak to your bank, find out how you can get a will in place that will safeguard your assets, safeguard and protect all of your investments, your assets. You can list them, you can renew it every year as things change in your life. If you have a will with your husband, I recommend that you have separate wills, because in the event where you die at the same time, you want to make sure that you will speak to each other. If you have assets outside of South Africa, maybe you've got properties in Mauritius, wherever else, have an asset in that place. have a will that speaks for your assets in that place, because some wills, like a foreign will, South African will, can contradict each other and therefore render one null and void. Then there's questions about your estate. If you are married, like I said, have separate wills with your partner. Obviously, draw them that they speak to the same language, but they must be separate. If you divorce, please. Now, I don't know if I should say this. If you divorce, please renew your will. People take that for granted, or they forget. They do the whole divorce process and then everyone's living their own lives. Washona, after 3 months of your divorce and you did not change your will, your husband's get everything. So they get everything. Why? Because you have 3 months after a divorce to change your will. If you do not change it in that 3 months, they become, by law, he becomes the beneficiary of everything that you have. Same for the husband. If he does not change his will, remember you've got 2 wills. If he does not change his will in that 3 months after the divorce is finalized, you're gonna get everything that he owns. That's very important. There are cases where people have been killed by their ex-partners because they knew that they didn't change the will and they got everything. So after a divorce settlement is done, get somebody to kill you, you die, you pass away, everything goes back to him.
I once had a financial advisor when we're done sorting out my will, and he was going through it. That, Nomza, when I say you adamant you want to rule from the grave, I'm like, yes, I would rather rule from the grave. It's my money. It's with the experience I've seen, I have with family members and relatives, and it got me scared. So when he said that I wanted to rule from the grave, I'm like, that mission accomplished.
Yes, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think we put stigmas in place.
Yeah, he made it sound like it. I was like, thank you for confirming it by the statement.
Yeah, no, and I've heard that a lot. Even family members, I was one time. It's fine. It's your money.
My money.
And it's your children.
Yes.
And it's your assets.
Yes.
And it's very important. And now they know that they can't misuse your money. Because I think in South Africa, it's a trend. When somebody passes away, now it's a party, because so or even funeral covers, and can we just touch on that piece well, because it is part of financial education, whereby we take policies for 10 members of our family, because we know that at the event where they die, we're going to get a cash out.
And then let's say 20,000, better let him 500. The whole 15,000, you say. Hey, futhi yazi
Lonto-ke iyaxabanisa, number one. Number two, watch ukuthi when your finances, is that not, because I know, for example, my mother, she had policies for days, like 4 days, like 4 days. And you told at the end of the day, you're paying image that you can't afford. Hoping these people, okay, you maybe you bring out the goodness of your heart to say, no shame. If you know siza ngempela if
because ngiyazi ukuthi ngiphume ekhaya elinjani makushona kuzobhekwa mina. So let me
do that.
Yeah.
All good and well, but that cannot compromise your standard of living now. So you can't be paying policies for 3,000 rand a month because you have omkhulu bonke, but when you don't have money to eat, because what's going to happen? You're going to go do a loan, a personal loan, a credit card, to service but you're paying 3,000 every month. You need to also do that in a safe way, in a controlled way. Yes, we want to help all of our family members, but you need to be realistic about what can you afford, what can you pay. And also realizing that funeral policy payouts is not a bonus for you. Instead, what you could be doing with that money is having a reservoir of savings where you say, this is my emergency savings, this is for family contributions. If you're going to savings, we are Black people, that's what we do, that's who we are. We give. Have that placed in a place where that you can control how you give to it. You understand? If there's an emergency, instead of going to make a loan, to a funeral or at a family member's event, you understand? Have those in place. You can open several accounts on your bank accounts, savings accounts that are free for you to manage and put 200 rand a month. But instead of you opening up so many policies where you're contractually obligated and you actually don't even have money to sustain yourself at the end of the month.
And yes, ngiyayithanda i-COVID for this reason. Isifundise lukhulu ngemingcwabo.
Yes.
Nokuthi it's possible ukungcwaba and get everything done and move on with life. I don't think imingcwabo yamanje isacosta labo 100,000.
No.
Abantu sebengamane bancama ukuthi bakhethe i-coffin expensive. But again, ayarepwa if you died with COVID. Uzolibona kanjani ukuthi sizolibona kanjani ukuthi ibhokisi likanokusho wrapped in all these plastic bags.
Yeah.
So COVID, as sad as it has come and messed up our lives, but there's a lot that it has taught us. Ukuthi nje umngcwabo nomshado are two different things.
100%.
I'm not telling you ukuthi mina nomyeni wami sike sangcwaba ngo-7,000.
Wow. Manje?
Not during the times of COVID, but it was 10 years ago.
Okay.
Sangcwaba ngo-7,000.
Yeah.
Because we were like, akasebenzi lo muntu ubhekane nathi. Thina sine life esibhekane nayo.
Yeah.
What is the purpose here? Udinga ukungcwatshwa. How much do we have? Sino 7,000. Kwaphuma inyama, kwaphuma ibhokisi, kwaphuma umgodi, kwaphuma konke sangcwaba.
Wow.
7,000.
Yo, that's a miracle. A lot of people will look at you like, that's a miracle. But it's possible.
No, I'm living proof. It is.
But we don't do it because we want the most elaborate, even for weddings. COVID has shown us even for weddings, you don't need the whole shebang, 200,000. There's a quote I've seen for a wedding, 250,000. I'm like,
yes.
One
wedding planner who said it. She put it out there. What yena? If budget yomshado wakho is below 300,000, go look for wedding planners abakuleyo level. You're not a client.
What?
Yes.
Yo, I leave.
Sesiqeda-ke retirement planning.
Yes.
Yay. Ama-cues akasasa mina they give me sleepless nights. That's why ngithanda ukuthi if nothing else can my retirement be sorted. Kodwa uNkulunkulu angigcine ukuthi ngikwazi uku-enjoy my retirement. The importance of retirement planning. What can you share with us?
So that's very important. And I'll start here. The retirement planning that we have in our country as a whole is not sustainable, right? So in the year 2025, in the year 2030, the number of people that we're going to have as a country that will need to be sustained through SASSA grants and all these other grants is impractical. So our government is right now trying to see what they can do. That's why they're always increasing taxes. That's why they're always trying to see how they can get more money out of the middle class to fund this growing population that is reliant on the state. So I would say upfront, do not even place that as a cushion. At least it's also 1.6. If you think about your lifestyle right now, you think about getting 1.6. Like, what would that do? Like, where would you even start with it?
Grows.
Like, you understand? I mean, that's possibly something that you can spend on your data, on your Wi-Fi, but that's supposed to carry you through the month, your family, food, whatever that you need. 1.6.
Yeah, it downgrading at
Yo, I got. We have to go back to the homelands. No, so retirement planning is very important, and the earlier you start with retirement planning, the better. Because understand one thing. Your retirement age seems far when you think about it now. But if you think about it in salaries, because you only get 12 salaries a year. So, if, let's say, you've got 10 years left until you retire, you're getting 12 salaries. That's 120 salaries that you are going to add up to retire. If when you say, oh, I mean, Hashem, nice life, you're only putting away 1,000 rand. 1,000 times 120, you're gonna have 120,000 for a time. So it sounds good, especially for young people. And I say this a lot to young people when they say, no, please put my retirement plan at the minimum amount. It sounds good and well, but remember, we're talking about years. We're not talking about a day, cooler daily. We're talking about in total once a month, 12 times a year. And when it adds up, it's not a lot of money if you think about it.
And then then they resign because they want to cash out the payment.
They want to cash out the payment, and then they want to start a new job. And then, but the problem is, you don't know. First of all, you don't know what life is going to happen. And
you pay tax.
You pay tax on it. So there are smart ways to actually get out of that tax, i.e., getting an RA, a retirement annuity, where you transfer once you've resigned, you transfer it into a retirement annuity. It saves for the long term, but you do have access to a portion. So that annuity, you can still get that money, but save yourself on the tax of it. So there's a lot of ways. So a tax planning and retirement planning conversation is also another conversation. It's so broad. It's so wide, but it's so important. I mean, if you're talking about credit, saving, you need to always include retirement planning. Because it's part of that. It's part of it. It goes hand in hand. Yeah. And it's important that people understand that it's also within your power. You don't have to, some people say, well, I'm self-employed, pension fund. You can, even if you're self-employed, get an RA, get a pension fund that can help you plan every single month for your retirement age. You know, there are people that I'm sure you know people from your home or wherever way, they are once so rich. And everyone knew by you and their family is so rich. Yeah. Now business fell apart, things didn't work out. Now they're so poor. Why? Because they didn't have the plans in place to protect them for their future. Whether it be by retirement planning, whether it be by emergency savings and investments, whether it be by just having those safeguards around you. It's very important to always save. If you can buy KFC 29 rand to twice to, you can save.
No?
You can save.
So guys, Maguama business is not every time like ufe kona in yoga. Sometimes it's financial planning. As by yoga every time with Magui business, let's say next door. And then suddenly they are no longer as rich, but never sometimes it could be wrong financial planning.
Yeah, lack of planning. When you there's a quote that I love. It says, when you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yes. Yeah. You fail to plan, you plan to fail. Mm-hmm. There's no better way to wrap up this conversation. There's so much we can talk about when you talk finances and getting our finances in order. It all boils down to respect and responsibility. Mm-hmm. So and have a sense of responsibility when we deal with our money, because as much as bank is they will come back with the bank. My credit scores, everywhere. The next thing is someone's applying Landuto because you cannot buy everything more cash. So thank you. That was it for today on the couch with Nomzamo. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.